4 miles off the coast of Newport Beach, a pleasure craft called the Green Machine happens upon a strange sight. An empty speedboat cuts a wide circle through the ocean. In the water nearby, a man in a life jacket drifts. The captain of the Green Machine calls in a mayday.
Rescue 6584, Blue Long Beach 22. 2 persons in the water, one of them we have visual on.
Gary Goff is a deputy sheriff with Orange County and first to arrive on the scene.
When we arrived on scene, we saw the Good Samaritan boat standing by, and there was a person in the water, later identified as Eric Beckler.
Goff pulls Eric Beckler onto his patrol boat and asks him what happened.
He told us that he was boogie boarding behind a boat being driven by his wife, and they had hit a wave or a wake. He got knocked off the boogie board, and when he came to the surface of the water, he looked into the distance and saw the boat going around in circles, and he didn't see his wife again.
According to Gary Goff, Eric Beckler seems strangely uninterested in the hunt for his wife, Peggy.
At one point toward the end of the search, he actually closed his eyes and appeared to be going to sleep.
5 hours later, the search has turned up no sign of Beckler's wife. As the sun sets, the search is called off and the boats head into shore. According to Goff, Beckler's demeanor changes once he reaches the dock, where the media is thought to be waiting.
Eric began blubbering again, and he needed our assistance to actually physically help him up the ramp. Until we got inside of our office, and when no media was present, he quit blubbering, he didn't need our assistance, and he walked just fine.
Danny Motley is a special agent for the Coast Guard's investigative service. 3 days after Peggy Beckler's disappearance, Motley takes an official statement from her husband. As the camera rolls, Eric Beckler tells police he was actually in the water kneeling on the boogie board when disaster struck.
He got hit by something like a freak wave or a wave that was out of pattern from the similar direction that all the other waves were coming from that knocked him off the boogie board forward.
In his review of the Becklers' impounded speedboat, Motley had noticed a pair of sunglasses folded and resting on one of the seats in the boat. He asks Beckler about the glasses.
That was odd because if a wave would have hit the boat with enough to cause somebody to fall over the side, then the sunglasses shouldn't have been sitting in the same spot on the seat that they were where Mr. Beckler claimed that he left them.
The inconsistency irks Motley, who decides to test Eric's story for himself.
We did the circles, and then we changed the speeds, and we did everything that I could think of to try to get us ejected from the boat, and we didn't get ejected from the boat.
The detectives even place a female deputy of the same size and weight as Peggy Beckler in the exact position that Eric described. Despite all their efforts, no type of motion is able to knock her into the water. Coast Guard officials have decided to turn the case over to local police, specifically the Homicide Squad for Orange County, California. Nearly a week has passed since Peggy Beckler disappeared. Detective Roger Neumeister takes the lead in the investigation. Accident, fraud, or murder, Neumeister explores each possibility. He begins by talking to Peggy's family and friends. None of them believe a lifelong swimmer like Peggy could have fallen out of a boat and drowned.
I mean, here's a kid that's been a top swimmer for years and years and so comfortable in the water.
I thought there's no way this could possibly have happened. Peggy was somebody who was an incredible swimmer, incredible triathlete. I've always said, you know, she could have swum to shore with one arm.
Glenda Mason is Peggy Beckler's best friend. She provides police with insights into the Beckler marriage.
They were constantly fighting. Peggy was concerned that he was having an affair. The last 6 months, I mean, Peggy called me crying, you know, almost weekly.
A marriage on the rocks. As a motive for murder, it's a good start. Then detectives review the Becklers' finances and find an even better reason. Larry Marshall is Peggy Beckler's brother, as well as an insurance agent.
We had done insurance together, Peggy and Eric and I had written policies for them. There were 3 policies, one for $100,000, one for $500,000 and one for $2 million. And Eric was the primary beneficiary on part of the policies. The children were primary beneficiaries on part of the policies.
In total, $2.6 million. Without a body, there are still too many holes in the investigation to prefer charges, and the case goes cold.
Contestant number 10, Tina New.
This is Tina New. She's a model and actress, earning a living on the bikini contest circuit. Tina and Eric meet 3 months after Peggy Beckler disappeared. The attraction is instant, the courtship extravagant, and the relationship unstable.
It was a very volatile relationship. They were abusing drugs and domestic violence incidences. It was just very volatile.
For more than a year, cold case detectives sit back and wait for the relationship to self-destruct. In the hour just before dawn, tenants in the Beach Creek apartments find sleep to be an elusive commodity. The couple in apartment 3A is at it again. In short order, Garden Grove police arrive and find Tina New alone in her apartment. She tells the officer she had argued with her boyfriend, Eric Beckler, over a broken breast implant.
My implant was a size, normally I was a D, and I was a size A on one side, and it just terrified me. I had been leaking, I guess, for 24 hours. And I called him panicking, and I screamed and said, Eric, you need to take me to the hospital.
According to Tina, Eric did come over to her house, but fled when neighbors put the call into police. Now, Tina wants to go to the hospital, but first, she wants to talk to the detectives who are working the Peggy Beckler disappearance.
And it wasn't like I was mad at Eric. It wasn't like I was trying to get back at him to tell his secret. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I knew he killed her, and I couldn't functionally live my life to protect him knowing that he did that.
She basically told us, I know Eric murdered his wife. You know, I've talked to him about it. And we'd say, well, what kind of conversations did you have with him about it? And she would say, well, one night we were laying in bed after partying in Los Angeles, and I asked him about how he had done it.
And he goes, as soon as she started to lay out on the boat, she was tanning, he goes, Tina, I walked up behind her and I hit her so hard she didn't feel a thing. And I'm like, you know, I'm like trying to act like this is okay for me to handle because I'm laying on a bed next to him, you know, right next to him while he's telling me he killed his wife.
Tina New is frightened, but also fascinated. She pushes for more details about the murder.
He goes, I folded her torso down towards her legs, and he tied all that together. And he goes, and I took 2 trash bags, I covered her up, and I dropped her down with weights.
Tina New is the break detectives have been waiting for. Her story, however, needs to be corroborated.
And that's when we told her, you know, you need to take the next step here and help us with making some phone calls.
Eric, I think you need to be worried. I mean, look,
I already know.
stop being so naive. You know, I know you're sticking to your story, but think about what happened. Think about whatever evidence they have from before with Peggy. You don't know.
Talk about that over the phone.
Eric refuses to talk over the phone. Instead, the two agree to meet at the El Torito restaurant.
And the cops told me that there was going to be a first team in the restaurant. It could be your waiter. It could be somebody else. So I didn't know where they were. I never saw them the whole night.
All I know is I never ever do anything that anybody ever did.
Detectives believe they now have enough to charge Eric Beckler with murder.
You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that, Eric?
It's here that investigator Murphy reads him his Miranda rights and asks about the incident at Tina's.
What is it you're saying?
That I'm not going to say anything until my attorney's present.
Okay.
Eric Beckler still believes he is only under arrest for the disturbance at Tina New's house. Murphy informs him of the additional charge, murder in the first degree. At trial, Eric Beckler maintains his innocence, underpinning that claim, the undeniable fact that to this day, the body of Peggy Beckler has never been recovered.
I think he's factually innocent because I don't think there was a crime. There's no evidence there was a crime.
For the jury, however, the words of Eric Beckler himself, gleaned from wiretaps collected by Tina New, seal the defendant's fate.
That was the real damning evidence, because there's nothing like having a suspect's own words used against him, because it's hard for them to refute that.
On February 1st, a jury delivers a verdict of guilty to charges of murder in the first degree. And Eric Beckler trades in life on the beach for life without parole in a California prison.